I played 100 Days of Stardew Valley Expanded. Stardew Valley Expanded is an amazing mega mod that gives a huge map expansion, new quests, loads of new NPCs, and more. It's great if you've been playing loads of the vanilla game and want to switch it up a bit. But me, I'm a noob. So obviously adding loads of new stuff is a little bit ambitious. I've got a small save on my Nintendo Switch, but I haven't really played it in years, so I hope you're ready to facepalm. I recorded the gameplay for this video whilst I was sick, since I knew I could voice it over later when I felt better. And then I had to move, so this video has kind of taken me over a month to put together and many hours. So, subscribe! I'm kidding, of course. But it would mean a lot to me. And with that, I hope you enjoy the video. So for these 100 days, I had 3 main goals. My first was to complete the community center. But, spoiler alert, I couldn't do this because I later found out I forgot to tick that box when I created the save. So we've already failed. Number 2, upgrade at least 1 tool to iridium. And number 3, get pigs, because pigs mean truffles, and truffles will make us rich. These may seem like modest goals to some, but I must remind you, I'm a mega noob, so let's see how I did. On day 1, I grabbed my parsnips and started clearing my farm. I planted one and went to PS to sell the rest, but it was closed, so I decided to go meet some other people. Plus the dog, Dusty is cute. It was finally 9 AM, so I introduced myself to Pierre because he's the one I usually forget. Then I sold my parsnips so I could buy one of each seed and fill the rest on potatoes, because I saw a Reddit in a guide somewhere or something. I ran back excited to plant my first ever seeds, and immediately realised how much I don't like watering. God, I can't wait for sprinklers. I chopped down enough wood to make a chest because I'm a loot goblin, and I used the rest of the day to explore the map, speak to NPCs, and of course forage. I already came out for them spring onions, but there were literally only 2. After selling my spare forageables, I ended the day on a measly 160 gold. On day 2, I went down to the beach to collect my fishing rod from Willy, but by now we've all seen this cutscene a million times, so I skipped it. I caught my first fish, which was a sunfish, and then met as many people as I could before calling it a day at 22 out of 31 and going back to my farm to clear more land, mainly weeds to try and get some mixed seeds because freebies! When I ran out of energy, I went to bed to get level 1 foraging. Yay, field snacks! Day 3 was my first rainy day, so I took advantage of the extra energy by clearing more land, but also I could chop some trees to get the seeds for the all-important field snacks. I immediately ate my first one after crafting it, by which point it was only 10 AM, so I decided to go foraging and look for the rest of the people to meet, but somehow got distracted by fishing for some reason. I was quickly met by small backpack problems though. I thought I could be smart by attaching my bait to my rod, and this drove me bonkers when I was trying to work it out, and then I found out you can't do that with a bamboo pole. So I ran home to deposit my stuff and called it a day there, reaching level 1 fishing. Day 4. Today was the day I would finish finding everyone. I was determined. And I had help from the NPC map locations mod. I literally couldn't do it without it. Jodie was the final person I met after spending ages getting her, Leah and Penny confused. I finally met everyone I could, so to celebrate I gave Jodie a clam. She seemed pretty pleased with it, so I'll take that as a win. On day 5, my single parsnip was ready, so I went and put it in a chest for the community centre. I went to check the quests on the board, and Clint was asking for some copper for inspection, so I thought today would be a good day to start mining. After putting some extra stuff in the chest, I got the community centre cutscene, which I skipped, so I could run up to the mines where I was met with another cutscene, which I also skipped. I made it to floor 5 that day, leaving with 18 copper ore, which I took straight to Clint for inspection and gratefully accepted my payment. Then I made my first donation to the museum from what I found in the mine, and grabbed the gold for that too. Hey, level 1 mining! On day 6, I received the crafting recipe for the furnace so I could start smelting that copper. I was sent mails from Marlon who wanted me to kill 10 slime and the wizard who asked me to visit him. After watering my crops, I ran straight down to see the wizard, where I, you guessed it, skipped the cutscene. Having opened up the community centre, I grabbed my forageables and lugged them up to the community centre, completing my first bundle. I decided to spend the rest of the day in the mines fighting slimes. I'm really bad at combat, like legit, what is that? Oh my goodness. Got there in the end though, didn't we? I exited on floor 10 with some new boots, which I walked straight on over to the Adventurers Guild to upgrade my sword to a wooden one. I ended my day by making a furnace so I could start smelting copper and raked in a whopping 70 gold for that single parsnip. On day 7, my potatoes, kale and tulip were ready. Oh, and I realised I hadn't planted those seeds from yesterday, so I did that. I then checked the quest board and Clint was asking to look at more copper ore, so back to the mines I go. I only made it to floor 15 that day because I'm a noob and I'm slow, before going to show Clint the shinies I found. I forgot to sort a present for Lewis's birthday, so I gave him some freshly mined quartz, which he hated. So I went home and cried myself to sleep. At least I leveled up in farming though, and I actually made a bit of gold. Day 8 was a bad luck day, but I'm stubborn and completely ignored this and headed up to the mines again anyway, so I was determined to make some actual progress in there. That's not to say I didn't have moments of regret. Those buzzy bugs are the most annoying things. Leave me alone! Not gonna lie, I started to flap a bit on floor 18, so I panic left, and then went for some retail therapy by purchasing myself a new backpack. The loot goblin needs those slots. Battered and bruised, I went home to plant my single rice shoot on dry land because I am a dingus. Then I used the rest of the day to relax and fish. Thankfully, we leveled up our combat, making those wounds a bit more worth it. On day 9, I had to make up for yesterday's terrible mining day, so it was yet another day in the mines. I didn't even bother to check my luck. I don't know if I was having a bad time finding the ladders or if I just suck, but I ended up running out of time and energy, and then getting a swim on 24, so I just kinda had to leave. Yikes. Even so, I managed to pass out on my farm at 2 AM, but I leveled up my mining, so we gooed. On day 10, Clint mocked my lack of mining progress by asking for a gold bar. I wanted to give him a piece of my mind, but I bit my tongue because I really needed those geodes open so I could donate more stuff to the museum. I spent the next day and a half mining, only to reach floor 30 with level 3 combat. Day 12 is dog day! I named it Mia after my real life dog. Because it was a Friday, I went to check the travelling merchant and I bought my first ever rare seed. I got a cutscene with Sophia which I actually didn't skip, and she very kindly gave me a quality sprinkler and let me know I could order them from her at any time. I instantly forgot this fact. I realised I hadn't done nearly enough fishing, so I went to the pier for the day and made a bit more community centre progress. Even though fishing isn't my favourite thing, I managed to level it up, as well as foraging, so I'd call that a small success. Day 13 is the day of the egg hunt, and I didn't win because I forgot how to pick up this egg and then left it behind, and then there was this egg that was taunting me and I couldn't figure out how to get to it. Sophia won instead, but I was fine with that because of the sprinkler she gave me, bless her. I went home after the festival and planted the 10 strawberries I bought that day, and then it's on to day 14 when I learned to cook coleslaw. And oh my god, does anyone else do this? I keep picking the TV up instead of watching it. Oh, and look, it's a bad luck day, but loads of crops already, so that's a win in my eyes, especially since now I could complete the spring crop bundle in the community centre. I decided to listen to the luck today and not go mining, so I chopped trees to get the 300 wood to repair that beach bridge. Remembering it was Sunday, I went to check the travelling merchant. I don't know why I bothered with 19 gold, so I walked away empty-handed and repaired that bridge so I could have another spot for pocket change. I spotted this bubble spot, so I tried to spend the rest of the day fishing, but I quickly ran out of energy, so I went home. I actually made a bit of money today. Nice. Day 15 marked the start of salmonberry season, which meant I needed to get to work foraging so I can save up loads of berries. I didn't though. I went instead to get the cutscene in the Adventurers Guild, which I didn't skip, and became the 23rd member. I also upgraded my sword whilst I was here. For the rest of the day, I headed into the mine with the goal of reaching floor 40, and I actually did it. But also look at all that iron, oh my god. In fact, I actually made it to floor 45 today, and leveled up with mining and foraging skills. I'm really proud of myself for that. On day 16, I sent my pickaxe for an upgrade and donated a bunch of stuff to the museum for loads of rewards, which was nice. And then I chopped wood for the rest of the day so I can get some tappers going, as well as more chests because I was accumulating things. On day 17, I went to collect my pickaxe, but obviously it wasn't ready yet, so I went and fished for long enough to get money to buy the fiberglass rod, which I immediately took for a test drive before remembering I hate fishing, and left. Just kidding, I went cave fishing and got mostly trash, but a couple of these weird looking stonefish. And with all that, we ended the day on fishing level 3. I started a rainy day 18 by rummaging through the bins and got my first trash bread on the way to Clint's to pick up my pickaxe. I didn't care that today was a bad luck day. I had a shiny new pickaxe and I had to use it, which meant the rest of the day was a mining day. I made it another 5 floors to 50, rubbish, and when I got back to my farm I was getting impatient with that tree tapper having produced a grand total of nothing. So I gave it a smack and put it back because I thought I did something wrong there. Turns out I just needed to wait. Patience, Emma. Patience. On day 19, Jodie asked me for a cauliflower, but she's gonna have to wait because they're not ready yet. I went to Robbins to get a silo built thinking I was being smart so I could get loads of hay for the animals, but I couldn't find these little arrows to change the building because I am a dingus and I gave up. I even looked through the shop bit, like literally what am I doing? I thought it was that I unlocked them after the coop, so I decided to go home and take my frustration out on these rocks and logs. Kinda overdid it though and got exhausted. Oops. The crop fairy came though. I think she felt sorry for me or something. On day 20, I can't even talk. On day 20, On day 20, the cauliflowers were ready, so I ran a fresh one straight down to Jodie, although I kind of feel like we ripped her off a bit for 350 gold. I crafted my first ever crab pot and placed it down at the beach, not knowing that I could have just done that on my farm. Oh, and I also didn't know to put bait in it yet. But anyway, we leveled up farming, so that makes up for it. On day 21, I got this new cutscene with Leah, which I for once decided to watch and not skip. Although I still clicked through the dialogue at lightning speed. I got this green bee, which I apparently ate, but after the cutscene it was still on my backpack. Like, how? Having now saved up the materials, I went to Robbins to ask her to build the coop. And then I went to Clint's to ask him to upgrade my axe, not realising I'm too poor for that. So in frustration, I gave my regurgitated green bean to Sophia. Day 22 was a long mining day. I got down another 10 floors to 60, before realising how late it was and decided to just stay there until I passed out at 2 AM. Because I leveled up in mining and combat, I woke up on day 23 with full energy, but I was billed 135 gold. On day 23, I managed to accumulate enough hardwood from the mines to complete the construction bundle, and then I got my first piece of iridium ore from an geode, and then went and spent the rest of my money on potatoes from Pierre's. This was a grave mistake. It's so hard to have to rewatch me doing this. Oh my god. Look at past me all happy watering those potatoes. She has no idea. Blissfully unaware, I went onto the Adventurers Guild to claim my first reward. Honestly though, what the heck is that thing? I sold it straight away, I'm not carrying that around. I made it another 5 floors in the mines today, but I passed out down there for the second night in a row. On day 24, I woke up with a note from Linus who found me last night, so no doctor's bill for me. I harvested my first strawberries and then completed the Adventurers bundle in exchange for a small magnet ring. I completely forgot today was the day of the flower dance, and it took me way too long to figure out how to get to it. I wandered around this little section for ages honestly, but I got there in the end, only to be rejected by literally everyone. Maybe next year. Leveled up my farming though. On day 25, more strawberries already, and I received a mail with 500 gold from my dad and spent the rest of this day mining for more iron. I left on floor 78 because I was determined not to pass out here yet again. On day 26, I bought my first 2 chickens, which I named Bussy and Nillard. Okay, the game named them because I suck at naming stuff. I then went to the merchant to buy another rare seed and then up to Robbins to finally get that silo built. I returned to my crab pot to see it was empty, and that's when I realised I needed to use bait, so I bought some from Willie and loaded it up. This was a good day for beach forageables, and I managed to sell a fair amount, ending the day with an extra 2,240 gold. On day 27, I decided it was time to upgrade my axe with Clint, and then decided to check on my crab pot at the beach to find my bait only attracted trash. Lovely. So I spent the rest of this day in the mines. On day 28, I bought another rare seed and checked my crab pot again and actually got a crab, which meant I can complete another community centre bundle. I feel like the fact they give you more crab pots is a little bit of a slap in the face really though. I also completed the blacksmith bundle in exchange for another furnace and realised I only needed 1 fire quartz to finish the boiler room, so I made that my mission, finding that on an infested floor 86 of the mines. On my way back though, I put in the aquamarine and completely forgot about the fire quartz. What a dingus. Not my preferred way to end my first spring, but at least we made a little bit of gold. On day 29, the first day of summer, I realised the massive mistake I made, clearing a field of what was mostly dead potatoes. Oops. On my way to Pierre's, I got the geologist bundle done, which meant I could unlock the minecarts because walking was long. By this point, Pierre's was open, so I went and bought 1 of every seed and then spent the remaining gold on more melons and blueberries, which I planted on my farm. Since I was now broke, I planned to spend the rest of the day fishing, but I just kept getting trash, so I went foraging instead. On day 30, I suddenly remembered I actually had chickens, so I went and took care of them and collected my new copper axe from Clint. I used the minecarts for the first time as a shortcut to the mines to see if I could progress a few more floors. I left on floor 90. On my way back through town, Clint was asking for more copper again. I think he's obsessed, so I accepted the quest. I then sold my spare weapons to Marlon and went to bed after failing so hard at fishing. I reached level 5 combat though, and I chose the fighter path. On day 31, there was apparently an explosion overnight. When I went to check what that meant, I was greeted at my door by a new NPC called Susan. Turns out the explosion opened up the path to her farm, so she can come to town again. I had a mail from Lewis asking me to retrieve his underwear. Gross. So I went to Marnie's and quickly realised I wasn't good enough friends with her yet, so I tried to give her this lovely gold bar, but she hated it, the ungrateful b****. At this point, I was determined to reach floor 120 of the mines as soon as possible, but on floor 95 I suddenly remembered Clint's copper quest, so I tried to use the rest of the day gathering that. I also spoke to the dwarf for the first time, but I couldn't understand him, so I left and completed the Summer Forage Community Centre bundle. On day 32, Demetrius came to set up my cave, which of course, I'm team fruit bats. This was yet another mining day because I still didn't have the copper off for Clint, so I sorted that real quick and accidentally gifted it to him. I was shocked to see he hated it though, and then realised the quest had already expired. RIP. On day 33, I didn't do a huge amount. I went on a foraging tour, then bought a pufferfish and a coffee bean for the travelling merchant, which I immediately went home and planted, along with 10 more wheat for the community centre. On day 34, I gave Marnie a cauliflower on my quest to get Lewis's shorts back, and spent the rest of the day fishing with Willie. I kinda overdid it though and got exhausted, which meant I woke up on day 35 with half energy. Oops. Nonetheless, I still dedicated to the day to getting as far into the mines as possible, using a staircase to reach floor 100 and getting my first star drop. That gave me the energy to keep going a little bit longer, so I exited the mines for the day on floor 107. Day 36 was a pure fishing day, and on day 37 I harvested my wheat, then I went to get a grass starter because I realised the chickens were still eating the hay even though I was letting them out every day. I gave Granny Evelyn a frozen tear for a quest, and then planted an apple sapling in prep for the fodder bundle. But when I went to shut the chickens in for the day, I realised they already ate all the grass. Yikes. On day 38, the wild seeds were ready, so I picked them, and then I crafted and placed my first preserving bins. Then I started clearing this little section in prep for a barn later, and managed another 5 floors in the mines, making it to 110. Look at these amazing space boots! I started day 39 by grabbing fruit from my cave, having somehow walked past all the melons which were also ready, so I went back for them, and then I marched myself down to the luau, where I added to the soup a random spice berry I just found on the ground. I didn't even wash it, but the governor seemed to like it, so I'll take that as a win. That single spice berry was enough to take me to level 5 foraging, so I picked the forester profession because I really didn't know any better, but also I wanted more wood. Day 40 was the day of my first blueberry harvest, and Susan kindly mailed me some more free melon seeds which I planted. I went and bought the first vault bundle in the community centre, and then with some of the rest of the money, I bought 16 melon seeds so I could work towards the quality crops. Oh, and I got more corn seeds for this too, making sure I used some fertiliser when I planted them. On day 41, I managed to complete the summer crop bundle, which gave me another quality sprinkler, which I desperately needed, and then spent the rest of the day grinding for ore so I can craft more regular sprinkles. Sprinkles? Sprinklers. On day 42, Pam asked me for some pale ale, but I can't make kegs yet, so she's gonna have to wait. I did first think I could buy it from the saloon, so I went straight when it opened, only to find Gus was clearly late, so I paced anxiously until he arrived, only to be met with disappointment. So I left an open geode so I could add more to the museum and collect my next reward, which was pumpkin seeds. When I went to bed, I was blocked with my dog, which made me panic a little bit, but with some quick thinking, I just moved my bed, which I felt was a 200 IQ move to be honest. On day 43, I was determined to actually make it to the bottom of the mines, not even bothering to check my luck, and I actually did it. I know, it took me way too long, but we did it, okay? On day 44, I bought some radish seeds, and then I went back to the mine since I can't seem to stay away from there, and I did need some iron. On day 45, I finally had enough gold to start the barn construction, so I went to Robin to get that done, and then I spent the rest of the day at the beach foraging and fishing, but I just couldn't figure out how to hit this bubble spot. It was lucky I went fishing because Victor was asking for a flounder, but what we're not going to talk about is how embarrassingly long it took me to locate him on the map despite the quest icon. Day 46 was a rainy fishing day, and on day 47 I bought a coconut from the travelling cart, and realised I hadn't explored this bottom corner of the map yet, so off I went into this forest where I found a few forageables and this abandoned farm. I couldn't find anything to do here, so I left. After a bit more exploring, I found this little area with some random low-level weapons, and then I realised with my poor sense of direction I should probably find my way home so I don't pass out here, and I'm glad I did because it took me till 11 PM to get there. On day 48 I woke up to a mail from the mayor containing 500 gold for being the best neighbour, and one from Demetrius asking for one of my melons. I didn't have any ready yet though, so I went and explored some of the east side of the map because I hadn't been there yet either, but I didn't find anything interesting, so I went back and opened up some geodes at Clint's. With the coconut I bought yesterday, I completed the exotic foraging bundle, which gave me some food, disappointing, and also bought the 5,000 gold bundle, which gave me quality fertiliser, better. On day 49, I cleared the bottom half of my farm as it was starting to get clogged on my way to the travelling cart, where I bought a pufferfish and some honey with intentions to donate them to the community centre, without realising I already donated a pufferfish, but at least I could drop off the honey. I also finally managed to return Lewis's shorts for a whole 750 gold. I'll take it. The rest of the day was spent fishing, which got me to level 5, and I chose the fisher profession. On day 15, my melons were ready, so I went to give Demetrius the goods. Then I went to Marnie's to buy some cows, but it's a Monday, so she wasn't there. I went back home and realised I'd not even touched this side of my farm, so I cleared the land to investigate because I didn't know until this point that this was where the greenhouse is. There were another 2 paths to explore, but my axe wasn't good enough for that, so I couldn't go there. Time for bed, I guess. We're halfway now. On day 51, one of the chickens were mad at me for some reason, and didn't give me an egg. I also accidentally ate the other egg. Oops. I tried again to get the cows from Marnie, even checking the map to see that she was there, only to be met with disappointment once again. I rummaged for some trash bread from Jodie's bin, which I immediately gifted to her son. He had no idea. Then checked the town board to see Clint needing help with his copper ore obsession, so I headed to the mines to handle that for some easy extra gold. On day 52, I was greeted with a big harvest, and I could finally buy my cows from Marnie. I named them Nonna and Brello. Then I spent the rest of the day fishing, which meant I can complete the ocean fish bundle. When I went to sleep, I saw I leveled up my farming, which meant quality sprinklers finally. Even made a decent amount of gold too. Now you know the first thing I did on day 53 was craft as many quality sprinklers as I could, so I made 15 of those. After harvesting my crops, I went to check my mail and found a note from George asking for a hot pepper to rub on his knee. Luckily I just picked some of that, so I brought it straight over to him. Even then he complained about how long it took me. Rude. The rest of this day was spent mining because Clint was once again asking for more copper ore. I really think this is becoming a problem. Maybe I'm enabling him. I had a few geodes to open on day 54, with some stuff I could donate to the community centre for 3 new rewards. I also purchased the 10,000 gold bundle for my first lightning rod. I spent day 55 at the beach fishing and clearing more of my farm, and on day 56 I grabbed my final harvest of the summer season, and spent the day in the mines until I was reminded about the Dance of the Moonlight jellies. I rushed straight down to the beach so that I didn't miss it. It was pretty, but I don't think I'm gonna go next year because there really wasn't anything to do. Day 57, the first day of fall. Time to redo the field for the next crops. But the corn made it really hard to plant it properly and I didn't want to remove them, so the struggle is real. We made it work though. It was already midday when I placed all the quality sprinklers, so I thought I should run over to PS for seeds, picking up this help request from the wizard on the way. Having planned ahead a little, I managed to come away from PS with a decent amount of seeds I feel, but this meant I worked into the night getting it all planted. I ended up only doing the pumpkins because I realised I had to water them all for today as well, so I ended up finishing these off on day 58. I also got this cutscene for the community board, which I didn't actually skip, and then I went to the mines to kill the squid kid for the wizard for a bit more easy gold. I noticed for the first time that he had a basement, so I went to check it out where I was met with this cutscene. It's pretty cool down here, but I wasn't sure if I should touch anything, so I left. On day 59 I walked past some corn that was ready for the second day in a row, but I did manage to complete the full foraging bundle, so I went back to the farm to plant my reward seeds. The afternoon was spent making more chests and reorganising because I was hoarding so much stuff. I also realised I'd ungoofed because I forgot to plant my rare seeds. On day 60, I woke up to a crow munching on my corn. How rude. So I repositioned my scarecrows. Hopefully that won't happen again. I finally picked that corn that's been there for days too. I decided that today was the time to upgrade my axe so I can visit the secret woods and explore those 2 parts on my farm, and then picked up my first ever community board quest because I forgot about them until now. I fished at the beach to try and get this done quickly, but I didn't catch a single albacore. I focused on completing a couple more fishing bundles, finishing the river bundle and the night bundle. On day 61, I bought a lucky lunch for the travelling cart, and then I remembered I had that fruit cave, so I picked up all the goodies before heading up to the mines to catch the ghostfish, which I literally got first time. I used the rest of the afternoon grinding for iron ore to make bombs and prep for skull caverns. On day 62, I picked my bok choy and collected my shiny new axe from Clint. I managed to donate a couple more things to the museum from geodes, but all I got was this ugly vase. There was a request from Marnie on the help board, so I promptly took care of that. And since I was out this way, I decided it was finally time to go to the secret woods. So I shot that log and made my way in. When I got there, I saw this top path which I didn't recognise, so I did an explore and found out this was a shortcut to my farm. I didn't want to go home yet, so I fished in the water in the woods for the wood skip, but I also caught this wool basket. On day 63, Marnie was at my door asking for a cave carrot for our goes. Luckily, there was one for sale at the travelling cart because I was far too lazy to get one from the mines. I ticked that off my list super quick. Look how excited she is. I wanted to make some more money, so I invested in some more cranberries and put my old sprinklers back down for more crop space. On day 64, Linus asked me to retrieve his blackberry basket. This reminded me that it was now blackberry season, so off I went collecting them berries. I went and grabbed Linus's basket too, but when I returned to give it to him, he was asleep. With all that running around, I decided to go take a dip in the bathhouse. But you know me, I'm fidgety, I don't sit still very long, so I was only in there for a second before I left again to explore the area above the train station, where I found another graveyard. On day 65, my first cranberries were ready, and so was my amaranth, which meant I can give some to Marnie for her quest as soon as she was ready this morning. I also went and hunted down Linus to give him back his basket too. When I got home, I realised I had a cherry just chilling in a chest, so I can now complete the artisan bundle for my first keg. And now I can finally start on that pale ale for Pam. I had a bunch of wild seeds ready on day 66. This was a very foraging focused day because I really wanted to rack up them blackberries. On day 67, the first pale ale was ready, much to Pam's delight. Look at this ale connoisseur. And then I spent the rest of the day mining for mainly stone because I wanted to be able to make loads of staircases for skull caverns. On day 68, I got my first cup of coffee and tried to offer a few things to that weird statue in the secret woods before googling it and realising I needed the sweet gem berries from those seeds I forgot to plant. So that's a rip. As I was passing, I checked the travelling cart and bought this really expensive crocus for the chance of completing the winter foraging bundle earlier, but at this point I was still missing the snow yam. So I was in the mines the rest of day 68 and the entirety of day 69 trying to hoe one out of the ground. I was unsuccessful. On day 70, I was back in the mines again, but this time just grinding for some stone, and I finally got to level 8 farming, so now I can make my own kegs. On day 71, I found out I finished the big cranberry order. I'll take the extra gold, thank you. And I got this mini shipping bin in the mail from Lewis, which I stored straight in a chest because I didn't know where to put it yet. I promptly forgot about it. At this point, I finally had enough gold to purchase that 25 grand bundle, which meant I now finished the vault room. I went home to place my first crystallarium and popped a diamond in it, before heading over to Clint's to spend the remaining gold on upgrading my pickaxe, and a buttload of yams from Pierre's. Overnight, the bus had been repaired, but day 72 was the Stardew Valley Fair Day, so I went to check it out. I put some random things in the display, hoping for a decent score, and then I played some of the games the fair had to offer, with the goal of 2,000 tokens for that star drop. I quickly found out that the fishing game was giving me the most success, so I did that till I saved up those 2,000 tokens. Turns out I got second place for my display. It'll do. So I fished again so I could buy that rarecrow. Overall, a pretty successful first fair, I think. Day 73 was a bad luck day. I collected my pickaxe and went over to the desert for the first time, having a little browse of the trader. I used this time to grab all of the forageables for the first time, and soon realised just how big this desert was. It literally goes on forever. Given that it was a bad luck day, I decided against going into skull caverns and just fished for the sandfish instead. Just kidding, since when am I sensible? It didn't take me long to find out how much stronger the enemies are down here though, so I took my escape on floor 6, so that I could safely bring my sandfish to the community centre, completing the speciality fish bundle. I hit level 8 combat too, so all those goes were worth it. On day 74, I received a mail from Mr. Key challenging me to reach floor 25 of the skull caverns. It was, once again, a bad luck day though, so I went to visit Robin instead and asked her to upgrade my coop. I did also take a trip to the regular mines because I had a quest to gather 100 bone fragments, so at least I could work on that. But by the end of this day, I only gathered 28. On day 75, I forgot about that bone fragment quest and went back to the desert. I made it my mission today to get to floor 25, and even got my first treasure floor, picking up the slime egg. To be honest, I really struggled through it, but we made it. We got there. I was disappointed though because there was no reward in my journal. It literally just disappeared. Luckily, it was in my mail on day 76. 10 grand! Some of which I spent on 2 new ducks, one named Latu and the other named Jennabella. From there, I went to open some troves and geodes, and when I went to donate the stuff to the museum, I got intrigued by this floating question mark, not realising it was for that bone fragment quest, and proceeded to get mad at Lewis for being in the way of me checking it out. I eventually gave up on that and headed to Robin's to ask her to upgrade my barn, and then I spent the evening in the regular mines trying to work on that bone fragment quest, and a new one from the wizard to kill 2 squid kids. But I did momentarily get distracted by a reward that was ready with guilt, so I went and collected my skull mask and went back into the mines again. I ended up losing track of time, passing out right on my doorstep, and then ended up spending day 77 in the mines again, determined to finish this quest. I then suddenly remembered I had loads of bone frags in a chest at home, so I excitedly ran these to the box in the library, and then realised that's not how it works. All I could do now was go back to the mines and hope I kill enough skeletons to complete the quest because it was the final day. I was cutting it close, but I finally finished close to midnight. The relief. Having now completed that quest, I learnt the recipe for the bone meal on day 78. And now that my barn was ready, I also went and bought 2 goats from Marnie. The game named them Jeppo and Snar. I didn't really like Snar though, so I re-rolled and went with Wumbus. It was time to accept a new community board quest, so I ended up doing the one for 100 bug meat for Willy. Wanting some last minute crop money, I went to Pierre's and bought loads of bok choy seeds, which I immediately planted and then went back to the mines to start on that bug meat. I didn't want to leave it to the last day again, so I focused on this for day 79 and day 80, which is when I managed to grab that reward. On day 81 I literally just chopped wood, and on day 82 my bok choy had grown, so I harvested them. I also found a duck feather at the travelling cart for the community centre, and finally fully upgraded my backpack, which meant lots more room for activities for my next Skull Cavern run, which I decided to do immediately. I almost died on floor 31 though, so I ran. I honestly suck at combat still. I foraged to make myself feel better, and it was worth it because I made it to level 8 foraging, which meant I could now make my own farm totems, which is the first thing I did on day 83. It was good luck day today, so I went to Skull Caverns again. Still definitely not prepared enough, but I didn't really know that at the time. And I was rudely interrupted by the Spirit Sea Festival, so I had to rush back so I didn't miss it. It took me a while, but I managed to get to the end of the maze and bag that golden pumpkin. Day 84 was another good luck day, but it was also the last day of fall, so I went and scythed as much grass as I could to fill my silo for winter, before heading to Skull Caverns for the day, trying to get more money and iridium, but I kinda ended up dying instead. Look at all this stuff I lost, my sword, my blackberries! Ugh, time to go cry myself to sleep. I got to level 9 mining though, and still made some gold. On day 85, the first day of winter, I realised I had the winter grass mod, so I panic-scythed all that grass for nothing. I got this cutscene with this guy which utterly confused me, so I ignored it and went to Clint's to upgrade my pickaxe, and accepted this fishing quest. I ended up deciding that maybe I should go find that shadowy figure in case it was important, and remembered something about one of those in the sewers, but it was still locked, so I tried the beach where I was met with this overdue cutscene from that bug meat. Gross. That made me forget what I was doing, so I bought myself an iridium rod and then grabbed some bait and a quality bobber to put on it. I then remembered I lost my sword, so I popped up to the Adventurers Guild to get a new one. On my way out, I found this bubble spot, so it's fishing time. As you can tell, my attention was all over the place today. I did catch a midnight carp though, so that was cool. On day 86, Gunther was at my door thanking me for donating so many things to the museum. I checked my mail where I got the wood chipper recipe, my blackberries that I recovered from the other day, and a challenge from Willy to catch a squid. So I made today a pure fishing day, since I also had the other quest. Just kidding, I remembered I still don't have that snow yam, so I went and hoed the ground by robins. And lo and behold, snow yam! I completed 2 bundles that day, the lake fishing bundle and the winter foraging bundle, which also meant I completed the aquarium and the crafts room. Well happy with that! The rest of the day was actually spent fishing this time, I promise, because I really did want to get those quests done. And I did it. Oh, and I got a nautilus shell from the beach, so that's another bundle done. On day 87, I woke up with a mail from Gunther with that reward. It was 40 grand! What? Oh, and the farm computer recipe from Demetrius, but that's whatever in comparison. I planted my winter seeds and fetched my pickaxe from Clint's before heading up north where I was given the copper pan on my way to the quarry. I wanted to check out this other cave which looked kinda scary, but I braved it anyway to find this weird statue and it gave me a golden scythe. I then took my leave to clear the valuables from the quarry. I then remembered about that little shadowy guy, so I ended up googling how to find him, which meant now I have the magnifying glass. A pretty eventful day overall. On day 88, I went to start the house upgrade and then sent my home for an upgrade too. I realised at this point how much I neglected my friendships, so I went around talking to everyone, and then I went to the saloon to buy all the recipes for that day, because I was excited about my future kitchen. On day 89, I upgraded my sword to the lava katana, and on day 90, I got my first large goat milk. After collecting my hoe, I waited outside Emily's door like a creep with some amethyst from Clint. She loved it, but I don't think I was supposed to take the credit. Oh well. Anyway, I took my goat milk up to the community centre, completing the animal bundle and therefore the pantry. At this point, I only had the bulletin board left, and I still didn't know that won't be possible to complete by day 100. Day 91 was new house day! Look at all this room for activities! The travelling merchant had a rabbit's foot that day, so I grabbed one for the community centre and then made it down to floor 38 at the Skull Caverns, and here are all the goodies we picked up for the day. Not amazing really. I started day 92 by moving my bed to the door because I almost passed out again last night. Emily was at my door telling me about her sewing machine, and then Robin knocked on my door to tell me about an old shed that was on my farm that we can restore. I completely missed this little pop-up about the Festival of Ice, so it was another day at Skull Caverns for me. I got my first prehistoric floor, but I only came out with 3 iridium ore. There was a note in my backpack though telling me to go to floor 100. I don't know how I'm going to pull that off. On day 93, I opened some artifact troves and donated stuff to the museum. It occurred to me that I only had 1 dwarf scroll left, so I headed to the mines to try to get that last scroll. In fact, I spent day 94 there too, but still no scroll. Day 95 was the day I finally realised I missed the Festival of Ice. I decided to spend some time trying to solve the secret notes. I don't know how I struggled so hard with this one. Wait, what the heck is Lewis doing? Yeah, anyway, I just couldn't figure it out, and it's infuriating to watch this back. I did get there in the end though. On day 96, the wizard asked me for some void essence, so after tending to my animals, I brought one right to him in exchange for 1,000 gold and pure rudeness. I realised that we were just a few days from the end, and I still hadn't got any iridium tools, so I ran my pickaxe to Clint so I could meet that goal. Even without my pickaxe, I went to the mines anyway because I still didn't have that last dwarf scroll, and I had to kill 50 bats for a quest. I still didn't get the scroll, but I got a note asking me to bring some maple syrup to the secret woods, so I did, and nothing happened. so I went to bed and tried again on day 97, and we did it. We gained the best special knowledge. With that distraction out of the way, I set off the deluxe barn upgrade, and then decided to spend this day on adding something decorative to my farm and laid some paths. But annoyingly, without my pickaxe, I couldn't unhoe these spots, so by the time I went to bed it was a bit of a holy mess. On day 98, my pickaxe was ready, so we actually met a goal. I had to give it a test drive, so I immediately went to Skull Caverns, even though it was pretty late in the day for that, but I came out with a few diamonds, so I was happy. On day 99, I decided to start off by finishing my paths. But if you want a really handy decorating pro tip, is to not put bombs next to your paths in your hotbar or this happens. You dingus. Why do I always do these things to myself? Why? That literally took me all day, so it was night market time, where I bought a few houseplants as well as this painting. I tried to do that secret note for the mermaid show, but I couldn't figure it out. I failed. Well no, actually, I thought I did it because I didn't know you're supposed to get a pearl at the end, and I thought it was just for this cutscene. So yeah, that happened. I spent the rest of the night fishing in the submarine for the special fish, but I didn't catch very much before I had to go to bed, so overall this day was kind of a massive fail. On day 100, I wanted to start off by placing my new houseplants, but this one turned into a snowman, which utterly confused me. And when I placed the other two, they turned into something else too, and I was like, what is going on? This is not what I paid for. Being my last day, I saw that my deluxe barn was complete, so I went to Miney's to buy my pig, but I was too poor. So I went and fished desperately at this bubble spot to try and make up the gold, and we made it. I went back to the night market one final time for another chance at the blobfish, not realising I just spent all my gold, so that's a massive rip. I can't believe that's the note we end our 100 days on. I went to sleep for the final time and made 1,800 gold. So how do we do? Well, here's where we are with the shipping. Not bad. And here are the fish that we caught. Pretty good. We got like half the artifacts and gems. Did terribly with cooking. And as for achievements, I'm pretty happy with our progress so far. We got quite a few done. Now with friendships, yeah, that's something we need to work on. And what about those main goals? So number 1, we failed right from the get-go because it literally wasn't possible. I can't believe I forgot to tick that box, I don't know what I was thinking. Number 2, we actually did because I got my pickaxe upgraded to iridium. And number 3, we also did on the very last day when we got our first pig. So yeah, I know those are modest goals, but we actually got both of the possible ones done, so I'm pretty pleased overall. So now what, 200 days you ask? That part's coming soon. But please give me time, this video took over a month for me to make. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. I'd love if you could like and subscribe if you did, and maybe check out some of my other stuff. Bye!